Good afternoon, all of you. I think now we can start the meeting. So, for the sake of the good order's sake, we are recording these presentations, and this will be then subsequently shared with MSX. Also, I would now request our CEO, Mr. Saif Al-Hamami, to kick off the presentations. Saif, over to you.
Thank you, Rajan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet with you today in this first investor engagement session that Abraj is conducting after its first public listing in Q1. I would like to welcome and thank all of you for participating in this engagement. I would like also to thank MSX for supporting us and for enabling us to conduct this session. As mentioned by my colleague, Rajan, please note that this meeting or this session will be recorded. We have prepared a set of slides to reflect on the overall company business and its performance for the first half of 2023. And we will be looking to present in the first half hour, and we leave the last half an hour for Q&A session and to answer your queries. I've noticed that there is somebody asked in the chat section if they can post their question there. I believe that you can do that, and we will try to our best to answer your questions and queries. If you can move to the second slide, please. So before we start, as a formality, this is a disclaimer for you to read and keep in mind. It is a recorded session. The session will be posted later in both Abraj and MSX websites, so you can go back and look at the material. The content has not been approved by any regulatory or supervisory authority. We don't intend to make any forward or forecast statements. The session should be taken in the spirit of engaging and updating our investors on the company business and its performance in the first half of 2023. Next slide, please. So these are the topics that we have prepared for you today. First, we'll give a quick intro about the presenters and Abraj management who are present in this session that will address your queries. We will talk about Abraj business, the market position, and an update on our operations performance. We will talk about our HST performance. As well, we will touch on the backlog of orders and the market share of the company. We will also go into more depth about the performance of the main segments of the company, the drilling and workover and the well services. And the final topic will be a deep dive into the financial performance of the company in the first half of 2023. Next slide, please. So today's presenters, myself, Saif Al-Hamhami, the CEO. We have Mr. Salah Al-Harthi, our Business Development Director, and Mr. Lakshmi Rajan, our CFO. I will cover the first 5 items of the presentation, and Mr. Rajan will cover the financials. But Mr. Salah can also chip in later on the Q&A on the operation performance and also on the business development side of the business. Next slide, please. So Abraj, as you know, Abraj is a company that was founded in 2006 that specializes in 2 main product lines. We have over 10 service lines that are revenue generating, and they fall into 2 broader categories. We have the drilling and workover category, and we also have the well services. Currently, we have 25 drilling units and 5 workover units. And Abraj today has around 28% market share of the drilling market in Oman, which is the highest among the competition. We have over 2,600 employees with over 93% Omanization level. And we are active with over 8 clients at the moment that include both national and international clients. Also worth mentioning, as you've seen in previous announcements, that we have acquired a contract in Kuwait to start operations next year. We have set up our branch in Kuwait and also in Saudi, and work is ongoing to gear up and prepare for the start of operations in Kuwait next year, inshallah. Some of the key highlights here that Abraj has a competitive edge when it comes to the technology of its fleet and also the age of its fleet, which gives it an advantage when it comes to operational excellence and gaining the trust of the various clients, and we continue committed to that. That is reflected on the operational excellence. As you can see, in the first 6 months, we have seen a drop in the MPT, which is non-productive time. This is mainly the breakdown time of the units, which is well below the international threshold. So we are seeing improvement in the operational excellence of the company, which helps us to gain more trust of the clients and continue the business with them. Next slide, please. Similarly, we've had an excellent HST performance. One of the numbers that we are proud about in the industry, alhamdulillah, with the effort of the team in Abraj, we managed to achieve over 583 days without any lost time injury to any of our employees or contractors that work with us. This is a really key highlight and a remarkable achievement in the industry. Furthermore, we have some of our units that have achieved over 7 years, and some of them exceeded 10 years LTI free, lost time injury free, which is another record. Also, another highlight, we have quite a good number of our units that have not incurred in any lost time injury since start of operation a few years back. So quite solid HSC performance that gives a competitive advantage to Abraj with its clients, but also it reflects the company's commitment to the environment, to the people, and the social welfare to operate in Oman and beyond. Next slide, please. So here we are showing the backlog of the contracts as we stand today. We have over 598 million Omani Riyal worth of contracts as we stand. There is, compared to last year, it's slightly lower, and this is normal as existing contracts are being matured and they deplete naturally. However, we are active in advancing discussions and work with the various clients to extend some of the existing contracts, but also to acquire new contracts to ensure that the backlog is healthy and that it bounces up and we maintain it and we keep building on it. Also worth mentioning, as we have mentioned previously in the IPO and in the prospectus, that we are active and advancing some of the pre-qualification work in the region, specifically more work in Kuwait. We have acquired one contract, but we are also talking to all the clients to get more pre-qualified to be able to participate in more tenders. Similarly, we are progressing in the pre-qualification in other regions such as Saudi, UAE, and also Algeria. When it comes to the drilling market, as you can see on the right hand, that Abraj has 28% of the local drilling market, which is the leading local market share in drilling, and we are maintaining that. Segment by segment, we are maintaining compared to 2022 the split between the major service product lines, the drilling and workover, and the well services at 85 and 15% respectively. Next slide, please. So this slide reflects on the drilling and workover product line specifically. If you look at the chart at the top left, you will see that we have improved in our rigs utilization rate. We have achieved 100% year to date in 2023, which has really helped us on revenue and the profit so far. If you look at the number of wells that has been delivered compared to last year, we are accumulating, but it is slightly lower than 2022. This is mainly because some of our units had to go on major maintenance, as we have disclosed earlier in Q1 and Q2, mainly in the light and the medium rigs, which has also impacted the revenue and the PAT. But we have concluded all of the major maintenance in Q2, and there is no further scheduled major maintenance in our units in the remaining of the year. You can see on the average time consumption per well, the chart at the far right at the bottom, that we are improving when it comes to the well delivery. We are reducing the number of days to deliver the wells, so the efficiency is improving, and this is one of the reflections that we can share with you. Overall, Abraj continues to be an industry leader committed to advancing technology, introducing new technology, and efficiency improvement. As you can see that Abraj has introduced some of the cutting-edge technologies in the industry, such as the joystick and the variable frequency drive. Abraj was the first MENA region-based company to organically start the hydraulic fracturing services, a highly advanced technical service, and also the first to introduce the highly automated rigs in the MENA region. And that really helps us, to excel in our operations and gain more trust with our various clients. Next slide, please. So this slide reflects on the other service line, which is 15% of our total revenue, which is the well services. A key highlight in 2023, the first half of 2023, that we have seen an improved unit or equipment utilization of the well services units from 57% in the first half of 2022 to 65% in the first half of 2023, which has reflected on the segment financials, as you will see later on with Rajan, in terms of revenue and profits. Similarly, the hours have increased, and that has improved the financials of the well services segment. I will hand over now to my colleague, next slide, Rajan, to take you through the rest of the presentation, which is mainly the financial performance in the first half.
Thank you, Saif. You are able to see the presentations? Saif, you are able to see the presentations?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Saif. And moving on to the financial side of it, we are presenting in these couple of slides the financial numbers, little bit deeper dive. And then thereafter, we will leave the session for Q&A to be addressed. You are able to see the presentations?
Yes, but make it please full screen.
Yeah. You are able to see to the full screen now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So
Okay.
here, as Saif has said, we are having a full 100% capacity utilization of our rig count, which represents 85% of our revenue generations. The corresponding period of 6 months of last year was about 98%. Now, in terms of revenue, here we have given you the 3 set of numbers comparing off year to off year, last year to this year. Similarly, Q2 last year to this year, Q2, and then how have we performed in Q2 vis-a-vis Q1 of 23. So you would see that while the growth on an off-yearly basis is 2.1% in revenue, from 68.2 million Riyal Omani to about 69.6 million Riyal Omani, the quarter to quarter is moving by about growth of 7.5% from 33.8 million to 36.3 million. In terms of Q2 to Q1 of 23, we have grown by about 8.9%, which is 33.3 million Riyal Omani to 36.3 million. So, that we had, as Saif has pointed out, all the major Cat 4 planned maintenance of our 6 rigs have been carried out and completed in mid Q2 23. So for the rest of the year, there is no further Cat 4 inspections and maintenance activities are required. So all that have been carried through, and therefore you can see the performance in Q2 vis-a-vis Q1. Revenue has improved by about 9%. Now moving on to EBITDA. EBITDA margin in the 6 months of this year was 31.7% compared to 38.6%. And if you can see the quarter to quarter, Q2 22 to Q2 23, 35.2% to 32.8%. These two periods are basically the reflection of the Cat 4 maintenance resulting in shutdown of the rig operations, which is required when the rigs complete the 10-year period. So that's a major Cat 4 inspections which have been carried out. But if you can see that EBITDA margin is improving in Q2 23 as compared to that of Q1 23, moving from 30.3% to 32.8%. So on the net income, while the net income has dropped because of that, what we have been saying about in Q1 and Q2 because of the Cat 4, but you can see that in Q1 23 to Q2 23, we have improved on the net income. We have improved by about 49.7%. 2.6 million Riyal Omani has grown to 3.9 million Riyal Omani. So this one slide gives you a bird's eye view on our financials on the income side of it. Moving on to the next slide, here we are giving you a cash flow bridge from the H1 23 and comparing it with H1 22. So while you will see that the operating activities are impacted because of that, cash flow from the operating activities are impacted because of the Cat 4 inspections that we have talked about in Q1 and Q2. Now these are all now the history. So this has all been done away with. And investing activities, the investing activities is because of the capitalization. What we have done in the last year for the 2 rigs have all been done away with. And financing activity is the loans have been fully drawn last year, which we have taken for the 2 rigs. And now the repayments are starting in 23. So that's why you have got the more repayments are there. So the closing balance is a resultant of these movements in these 2 periods. And also the adjustments of the capex suppliers, which were done in a subsequent period of 22 last year, have been completed, arising out of the 2 new rigs that we had commissioned in Q1 and Q2 22. The capex spent you can see that the capex spent is relatively lower in this H1 23 as compared to H1 22. In 2022, it was the leftover capex for the commissioning of the new rigs which was there. The net debt position is 92.8 million Riyal Omani as compared to 98 million, and the net debt times to EBITDA is 2.1x as compared to 2.6x. While we have drawn all the loans, we have also continuously repaid those new loans also. The new loan repayment schedule have already commenced. So the net debt as a times EBITDA has come down from 2.6 to 2.1x. Moving on to the next slide. Here we are giving you the segmental, as Saif has said, we have two segments, drilling and workover as one segment, which constitutes 85% of our revenue. And the other segment is well services and others. You would see that the drilling segment in H1 23 has improved by 0.2% only. But if you can see in Q2 23 versus Q1 23, we have improved by about 10.3%. The impact of Cat 4 is all by our side. These are all the past now. So the growth, you can see that revenue that has been generated. In terms of well services, 6.9 million has improved to 8.2 million Riyal Omani and about 19% growth in revenue. We have also seen that Q2 23, the revenue is more or less the flat. But when you compare to Q2 23 versus Q2 22, we have improved by about 11%. This improvement in the well services revenue is largely driven by the new contract that we have secured for the fracturing services. Moving on to the EBITDA of the segmental side, the EBITDA, while the absolute amount has dropped, resulting because of the Cat 4 inspections that we have been talking about in Q1 and Q2 that we have done. So EBITDA margin is the resultant dip on that, 40.3% to 32.6%. You would see that Q2 23 EBITDA margin has improved by about 3.8%, 3.4% as compared to that of Q1 23, because the Cat 4 inspections has been done away with. So the full running of all the 25 rigs gives us that improved EBITDA margin. On the well services side, we have improved as compared to that of last year, resultant because of the more capacity utilization of the well services assets. So EBITDA margin has improved from 23.2% to 25.6%. Now, between the quarter Q1 to quarter Q2 23, we are on terms of the revenue, it's more or less the flat revenue, but the EBITDA margin is lower because of that nature of the call-off job that has been there. So, sum and substance, this is the broad outline presentations. We would now leave the session for Q&A. We wanted to keep about 30 minutes for the Q&A session. So I would now leave the floor for the people to raise their questions.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rajan, and thank you, Engineer Saif. Actually, I have some question. You mentioned in your presentation, you cover all the major maintenance for Q1 and Q2. Can we see, my question is, can we see the same net profit, what you achieve in 2022? So, for example, to achieve this, you need to make at least 6 million for Q3 and Q4. Can we see this? First question, this. And are you going to give 21.2 base as dividends on March 2024? As you mentioned in your IPO statement, you will give 85% or higher than the net profit realized for the previous year, or 6 higher than the dividend paid in previous year. So you paid already 20 base in 2022. So are you able to give dividends 21.2 for 2024 in March? Also, I have one third question. For your, did you sign any agreement for this liquidity provider with any companies in Oman? And fourth question, what's about your progress of your project in Wafra field in Kuwait? When we can see the financial impact on Q4 2023 or Q1 2024? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you,
My name is Nasser.
Thank you, Sheikh Nasser. I will answer some questions of yours, and I will leave other questions for my colleague Saif to answer them. First, your question I will answer is that of whether we have appointed any liquidity provider. We have not yet appointed the liquidity provider. We are evaluating the process, and then we will take an appropriate decision in consultation with the board as and when that is required. That answers your third question. Your second question is regarding the dividend. The company has made a statement in the prospectus, and we will honor by that statement only as per the prospectus. And leaving your fourth question with regard to the Kuwait operations, these operations will commence. We are aligned with the client's commissioning schedule. So this will be in Q1 24 is the first rig is going to start. So it is not in 23. And leaving your first question, how we will be catching up with the rest of the 6 months, I will leave that question be answered by my colleague, Saif.
No, I think you've answered it all, Rajan. As you would appreciate, Mr. Nasser, we cannot make an outlook forecast. What we can say is that we have seen recovery, as my colleague Rajan has presented, I believe in slide 21 and slide 22, between Q1 and Q2, and also Q2 23 versus Q2 22, where the majority of the major maintenance was done in Q1 and some of it was in Q2. So we have seen recovery. However, we cannot make a statement on forecast what will be achieved by the end of the year. And you've answered the dividend part, Rajan, yeah?
Yes, I have answered the other three questions of Sheikh Nasser.
Yes, I have one more question regarding the dividends, because what you stated in your IPO, you will give 85% of your net profit for the year, or 6% higher what you give for the last year. But in this case, you will not. I don't think you will be able to give if you continue your net profit same what you're doing in Q1 and Q2, even in 3.2, because what I stated, you need to make at least 6 million in each upcoming Q to give at least 20 besa. But if you will not be able, I think the dividends might be less than the 2022, because I was seeing interview for engineer Saif and Wasal. You're talking about each year from the time you started, you make him growth 23%. I hope this year you can make the same growth that's what you already made from the time you started, so you can be able to give the same dividends. Because actually this is one of the things when we decided to be investor with Abraj, we liked the growth, your story of growth from the time you started. But we actually, to be honest with you, we've been shocked for the drop. In the first Q, you dropped about 60%, and in the second Q, you dropped 37%. I hope seriously to be covered in the upcoming Q3 and Q4, so we can continue be investor.
So we are recovering, Mr. Nasser, and as we mentioned in the prospectus, regardless of the financial performance, regardless of the growth, which we are committed to, we are already committing to giving the dividends, as you have correctly mentioned, either a 6% growth on what we have paid last year, or 85% of the profit achieved this year, whichever is higher. So we are still committed to that, as we have committed in the prospectus.
I know. I have one more question for the dividends. So you already mentioned you will give 85% of your total net profit for the year. For example, if you don't, I mean, you don't meet the same profit that you make for the last year. Okay, so can we have the same dividends of 20 paisa?
Yes.
Using your backup money, I know you have Latin around 48 paisa. You have it as a new treasury, so we can see the same dividends happen in 2024. Thank you.
Sheikh Nasser, we've already made that commitment in writing in the prospectus, and we're staying to that commitment. So I think that the point is clear. If you allow me, I think for the sake of time, it's good to move to the others who really want to maybe answer and give the chance to everyone. We take maybe the next question. I see Mr. Anu.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thanks very much for the call. I have 3 questions broadly. So first is on your market share. So during the IPO, I think the market share was highlighted as 29%. It has dropped to 28%. It's not a big drop, but I was just curious as to why there has been a drop in the share. The second question is on your revenue. Despite lower number of drilled wells, your revenue is up. So could you please break down for us the reason driving the revenue higher in 2Q? And lastly, if you could please quantify the financial impact of the maintenance that was taken during 1H, either in terms of revenue lost or cost push, what would your revenue have been, or what would your margins have been if not for this maintenance during the first half? Thank you.
I will take the first one, and then maybe I will hand over to my colleagues Rajan and Salah if they want to answer the others. In terms of the percentage-wise, actually we have increase in our unit utilization, yet there is a slight decrease from 29 to 28% market share, and that's actually a positive indication that the industry and the market is growing. So there are new rigs that are coming to the market. We've added a new rig, and others are adding. And as I mentioned, despite we've increased the unit utilization. We've reached 100% in 2023. We are seeing a slight decrease in the total market share. Nonetheless, we are still the market leader by far compared to the others. So it's actually a positive indication. The other questions I'll probably hand over to Rajan or Salah to answer these questions.
Yeah, Salah, can you please take care of that questions with regard to the lower wells drilled? Salah? Salah, you are mute.
All right. One thing I would like to mention that regards our utilization is 100%, and regardless the turnover of number of wells, it does not impact our revenue at all. What impacts our revenue is the non-productive time. So regardless if we drill 100 wells or 200 wells, we are contracted. Our contracts are based on a fixed day rate and only get impacted by the NPT. Now, number of wells reduction or increase is mainly attributed to the client well design, whether the rigs can be required to drill deeper wells, which will take longer time and therefore less wells turned in. And but regardless whether we are drilling longer wells or shorter wells, our revenue impact is almost nil because of type of contracts that we have, which is based on day rates. Was there any other question in regards to that as well?
Yeah, just while we are on day rates, actually, just wanted to know the trend. For example, in Kuwait, the contract that you've got, are the day rates there, day rates there higher than what you get in Oman? And just if you could update us on how many rigs you plan to add in Kuwait in 2024, that would be great. Thank you.
So it's my colleague had mentioned that that we will be deploying our rigs in Kuwait, and the first rig will be commissioned in Q1, and then we have a subsequent second rig. Our contract is based on provision of 3 rigs, and hopefully all 3, or for now we have the work order for 2, and then the 3rd one will come in, and all 3 should be in commissioning in 2024. The day rates, as I mentioned as well back in our IPO days, that the day rates are not relevant between Oman and Kuwait because of the type of OPEX required between the 2 countries. In Oman, the similar rig that we provide in Kuwait will require to be manned by 80 people as per the regulation of Oman, while in Kuwait we're required to be manned by 60 people. That and the cost of manpower for drilling mainly is almost around 50% of the OPEX. Thus, it does have a big impact on the day rate. So the day rates in Kuwait, even though it could be lower, but the OPEX is much lower than what you have in Oman. Therefore, the PAT and the EBITDA impact is an improvement, or sometimes is similar to Oman, regardless of the day rate. So in a nutshell, what's constitute in the OPEX in Oman is much higher compared to in Kuwait. Thus, the day rate in Oman is slightly higher than in Kuwait because of it.
Okay, understood, sir. Just that question on the financial impact of the maintenance that you have taken. How should we look at that?
You're talking about the CAT 4.
Yes, the maintenance, the CAT 4 maintenance. What was the financial impact and the P&L because of that? So basically, what would your revenues and margins have looked like if the maintenance was not taken?
I will leave that to my colleague Rajan, but you would see that in the slide where the revenue difference between Q1 and Q1 2022 and Q1 2023, that give you a flavor of what would be the difference, as well as H1 and H1 22 and H1 23. If Rajan, you go back to those slides, and then you can elaborate from there. Rajan.
Yeah, just give me only 1 second. There is some screen is getting stuck. Just give me 1 second.
Yes, it's moving.
Yeah, you are able to see now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what you see is that the revenue has improved. Yeah,
we lost the screen. Yeah.
Okay, so the revenue has slightly improved. At these CAT 4 inspections are not the impact of CAT 4 inspections on the rigs revenue, because these the CAT 4 inspection on 2 of the rigs were started somewhere in November and December. It went up to till May. So the total impact on the revenue would be about 3 million Riyal Omani plus on the revenue side. And on the cost, it was like a 2 kind of a nature. One is a write-off straight away hitting the P&L, which will be about 210,000 Omani Riyal. But then there is also the amount of capitalization which will hit through the depreciation. So the capitalization of that then was about 2.1 million Riyal Omani. So this is the total. On the P&L side of it, in these 2 periods that we are talking about, is about 3.2 million Riyal Omani for these 6 rigs.
So just to understand correctly, this is for the first half, the P&L would have been better by 3.1 million Riyal. The earnings would have been better by 3.1 million?
No, the work has started in November end and got completed in May. So some of it would be for the earlier period also. That means for 22. But the major portion, you can say 80 to 90% of that was in 23.
Okay, thank you very much, and all the best for the year ahead.
Thank you. Joyce, I think I saw you are raising your hand. You have any questions? Anybody else have got any other question?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Abbas Muslimi.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. I let Joyce go first.
Sorry for the confusion. My question was on your plan to convert this variable rate USD loans to fixed rate OMR loans. So how much of these USD loans have been converted so far this year? And what's your plan for the year ahead? That is one. And second question is on you have an MOU for strategic expansion partnership with the SLB. So now that they are on board, are there any early stage developments that's happening on that front? Also, can you please explain what's the potential areas of collaboration that you could be planning with SLB?
Okay, first I will address the question on loan swapping, and then I will leave the question on MOU with the SLB for my colleague to respond. So first on the in the prospectus, we have said that we are working on to convert the dollar loans. So we had converted major portion of the dollar loan in April 23, dollar loans into an Omani Riyal loan. The last portion of the loan is in principle has been agreed with the bankers, and we are confident of closing it out in September 23 itself. So by September 23, all the dollar loans would have been converted to an Omani Riyal loan.
On the SLB collaboration, maybe I'll answer on that. So on the SLB collaboration, this is not something new in the industry. We always collaborate between different companies. We have global, technology providers, manufacturers. We do partner with different companies for what works best for our business. So it's not totally new. However, for SLB, it is more focused efforts that we are looking at greater opportunities. As we speak today, in some of our product lines, although Abraj have taken the route of organic growth, we always start the services organically in the company. We build the capability, but we also are open to partnerships, to working with other companies to realize more value for Abraj. And we are doing that as we speak with different companies. But on the SLB side, we are looking at bigger opportunities at bigger scale. And as you have correctly mentioned, that we entered this MOU to look at bigger opportunities for collaboration. The discussion is ongoing. Once something materializes that is worth disclosing to the investors, we will definitely come forward and announce it.
So what kind of potential opportunities, collaboration are we talking about? If you can throw some light on that, that would be much helpful.
So, as I mentioned, the discussion is ongoing. We are assessing the opportunities, but anything within the industry, within the energy industry on a wider scale, and the oil and gas on more specific.
Okay, thank you very much.
Engineer Saif, we saw some increasement in your company loan from 72 to 92 in Q2. So can we know the reason is for your increase business in Kuwait or for Oman business? Thank you.
This is basically, this is for the loans that we had taken to complete the 2 new rigs which we commissioned, and also for the Kuwaiti loans. We are looking for taking the loan in Kuwait only as of now. So we have started our discussions. And though initially for the CapEx suppliers, we are funded from Oman, but ultimately the facilities will be availed from Kuwait because the revenue is in Kuwaiti dinar. We want to have a natural edge in our loan portfolio. So the loan is being looked at it from a Kuwaiti banks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I go? Yes, thank you. I was just waiting for your cue. Thank you for the presentation and the question and answer so far. Couple of questions. One is on the finance cost. When I look at your latest finance cost for the second quarter, and I look at your debt balance, it seems that your interest cost is around 6%. I just wanted to ask you that, is your repricing of interest cost done? Is that, so if I take second quarter as 6% interest rate, is that the sort of interest cost that you're going to carry for the remainder of the year? Or is there still conversation with bankers where there's some sort of an uptick in finance costs? That's my first question, sir.
Okay, fine. It's a very good question. Typical finance question. To tell you, you know, the dollar pricing, dollar loans were priced at 3 months LIBOR plus the fixed spread. LIBOR was going through the roof. So when we converted to the Omani Riyal loan, we converted to a CBO weird. So CBO weird is around 4.03% today, plus the fixed spread for the tenure of the loan. So yes, the pricing as interest pricing for the dollar loan to when we swap to Omani Riyal loan has come down. And how the future will look, we cannot predict or assume anything. So we will have to see how it goes by. But however, dollar to Omani Riyal loan has helped us to cut down the interest cost.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is on, you know, the Cat 4 inspection. I mean, a couple of people on the call have already mentioned it came as a surprise to the market. You could not have given a forward-looking statement, but now that's behind us. The frequency of Cat 4, I was just doing some research, is every 10 years. Is that fair? I mean, so for a young fleet like yours, we don't expect too many of these Cat 4 sort of maintenance breakdowns coming in the next, you know, because you said you've taken it from 6 rigs. I'm just wondering for the rest of the rigs, what sort of Cat 4 schedule are you seeing for the next year or so?
Saif, would you like to take that question?
I mean, Salah, I see you're nodding. Maybe you can take this question.
Okay, there's two type of Cat 4. You have the major one, which is 10 years, as you said, and that is for the substructure, the mast or the big part, the big steel part. That happens every 10 years. And then you have for certain equipment that is for every 5 years, and that is as per the industry approved API where they dictate that. So, but that one for the 5 years is not a major. It can always be done offline sometimes, so it doesn't impact any revenue. Our rig fleet, and I think that was also made at the age of the rig fleet is already been mentioned in the prospectus in the during the IPO, so you can see the age of all the rigs that we have. But the ones that up to that been commissioned up to 2012, we managed to cover their Cat 4 so far. And that is the biggest portion of the rig deployment, which was from 2007 all the way to 2012. But definitely there will be a few of them coming in the subsequent years, and that is depending, once it reaches the 10 years age, then we'll have to go to the Cat 4.
And is there a ballpark number per rig in terms of the Cat 4 expense per rig so that we sort of build it in our models? Because we'll go back to the prospectus and see your rig age, but how do we sort of account for this going forward?
In terms of what? In terms
of Riyal Omani per rig.
Riyal Omani per rig during the Cat 4.
Yes, sir.
Ryan, you want to participate on that?
Well, there are two kinds of things. One is the capex investments that are required for doing these Cat 4 inspections, and another is the number of days that would be required to run these kind of Cat 4 inspections when the revenue will not be there. So on an average, if you see, this will be about $800,000 as the capex investments, $800,000 to a max of $1 million. So this is the kind of a capex investments that would be required. And in terms of a number of days to complete, these again would depend. But on an average, it takes about, I guess, about 50 days, 50 to 60 days on the Cat 4 inspections that is to be carried out. But as we are learning, because these are all the things for Abraj, and we have learned a lot on how to manage these Cat 4, so learnings are being captured, and we will be able to optimize these learnings in the future cash flow Cat 4 inspections.
Well noted, sir. And I have one last question. I think in your presentation, you alluded in the second quarter that when Cat 4 was mostly behind you, still your EBITDA margins were down compared to second quarter of last year. Is there something operational going on in terms of, because you're working at 100% utilization rates. So the only other logic is there's some sort of cost pressure or there's a day rate sort of softening. So can you comment on the sustainable sort of EBITDA margins if you remove the Cat 4 sort of breakdown or Cat 4 sort of maintenance? Have you seen any softening in EBITDA margins in the business and what's going on? That's my last question, and thank you very much for your time.
Okay, so let me take that question. See, when we have completed the Cat 4 inspection towards the end of May 23 for the last of the rigs, we have noticed that the accounting of those expenses and all that thing have to be completed, which have got completed during the second half of 23. So that's why you might see that the margin is not getting fully reflected in the EBITDA. Though we are showing as 100%, that 100% capacity utilization, you can say in the month of June onwards. But then the pressure on the EBITDA when the Cat 4 inspections were there will have an impact. Correct? One of the rig, it got completed only on 19th of June. So what I'm saying, probably Q3 will be a proper reflection to say when all the rigs are working, how the EBITDA margins are getting reflected.
So just a minor addition from my side, Mr. Abbas. We did have Cat 4 in Q2. So there is a Cat 4 or the major maintenance impact in Q2. It's there. However, compared to Q1, we had more units in Q1. But Q2 did have the impact of the major maintenance unit.
Understood. I think Q3, like I said, we all wait for the Q3 numbers to see what's actually going on an organic basis with the rigs. So it'll be interesting to see the Q3 numbers. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Justin.
السلام عليكم. مساكم الله بالخير جميعا. بتكلم عربي يا اخي سيف اساسا يمكن في
تفضل شيخ جاسم تفضل.
الله يخليك تسلم. شكرا على هذا الموسم المناقشه، وشيء جيد ان نشوف شباب العمانيين موجودين اخي سيف وانت الاخ خالد، يعني اتمنى ان شاء الله الجميع يكونوا من الشباب العمانيين بعون الله. وانا مثل ما قلت كتبت السنه في التقرير في الجمعيه العموميه، الواحد فخور ان نشوف شركه فنيه في القطاع النفط وتكون باداره شباب عمانيين. اتمنى لكم التوفيق جميعا ان شاء الله. انا بس بالنسبه عندي 3 اسئله بسيطه. بالنسبه للماركت شير مالكم اللي هو كان 29 الحين 28، انا احس دائما الشركات الوطنيه المفروض يكون لها دور في القطاع اللي هو في البلد بروحها. المفروض يكون يعني عندنا شركات النفط وطبعا استخراج النفط وماده طبعا في الوطن، فبالتالي حتى لو الشركات اللي هو اوكيو وغير اوكيو اللي هي تسوي هذا اللي هو القطاع، ما المفروض يكون يزيد كل سنه يعني، لان يعني هي شركه وطنيه ونحن دائما ندعم حتى في القطاعات اللي هي الصغيره والمتوسطه. هذه امور فنيه يعني، وانتم متخصصين ما شاء الله عليكم، ونبغي يزيد العدد الشباب ونبغي يزيد الموسم. فابغي رايك يا اخي.
صحيح. طبعا اذا تسمح لي اجاوب على هالجزئيه اخوي جاسم. طبعا هو التغير من 29 الى 28 شيء بسيط، هو يعني عدد الوحدات زاد في البلد واحنا زدنا حتى اليوتيلايزيشن مالنا، ورغم هذا يعني شويه نقصنا يعني. طبعا احنا ما زلنا في الصداره من ناحيه الماركت شير، اللي بعدنا يجي على حوالي 15 او 16 بس ما متاكد 100%. على كل بالنسبه حق الشركات الوطنيه، هذه سياسه تتبعها الشركات المشغله، انه يكون يعني التنافس على العقود تنافس مفتوح للجميع بما فيه الشركات الوطنيه والشركات الخارجيه. طبعا يعني هذا له ايجابياته ولا ممكن تقول انت يعني ما بنقول سلبيات، يعني كان ممكن يعطيك انت يعني افضليه لو كان يعني الافضليه تعطى للشركات الوطنيه، لكن في المقابل ايش يعمل هذا؟ يعمل ان شركه ابراج اليوم انت لازم تنافس شركه شلمبرجر، لازم تنافس شركه هاليبورتن، تنافس شركه مثلا كيسي ديوتاك الى اخره. هذه شركات عالميه لها باع يمكن بعض منهم فوق 100 سنه يعني على قطاع على مستوى العالم. فانت لما يعني تضغط على الشركات الوطنيه وتقول لهم يلا تنافسوا معاهم، انت اليوم يعني ترفع من مستواك، ترفع من ادائك، هذا يهيئك انك انت مستقبلا ممكن تطلع خارج البلد. ايضا هذا يهيئنا احنا لما نتعامل مع المشغلين الدوليين. طبعا انت مشغلين يعني الشركات الخارجيه الموجوده في البلد امثال مثلا بي بي اوكسيدنتال، اليوم احنا ننافس حالنا حال الشركات الخارجيه. فطبعا يعني ما في افضليه يعني على هذا القطاع للشركات الوطنيه، وهذه سياسه تتبع، ولكن في المقابل هذه كان لها مردود ايجابي لشركه ابراج ان احنا نرتقي مستوانا على مستوى عالمي، وهذا ايضا بيمكننا احنا اذا بغينا نطلع برا عمان يعني ان احنا ننافس مع شركات خارجيه.
شكرا على الاجابه واتمنى لكم التوفيق ان شاء الله، خصوصا لا صلاح ذكر انكم رايحين الكويت ان شاء الله هناك، والمارجن انا ما اعتقد في من هو ذكر انه حوالي بيكون افضل ان شاء الله. اتمنى لكم التوفيق. هذا السؤال الاول. السؤال الثاني بالنسبه اللي هو توزيع الارباح حسب اللي هو في البروسبكتر مالكم لما عملتوا شركه مساهمه عامه، لو انا عفوا بس مده كم سنه هي هذا اللي هو يعني اقرار 2 أو 3 انتم عاملين انا ما اتذكر يعني يمكن قريته ونسيت.
3 سنوات. وخلينا نوضحها للاخ ناصر، اعتقد هو وضع سؤال بالانجليزي بجاوبه. اعتقد ان حاولنا نوضح احنا التزمنا في نشره الاصدار في البروسبكتس ان احنا بنوزع الارباح بغض النظر عن الاداء المالي ل3 سنوات. وزعنا اول سنه وسنتين قادمات خلاص عملنا الالتزام، والالتزام كالتالي: يا 85 من صافي الربح اللي احنا ما نعرفه الله يعلم على نهايه السنه، طيب، او نسبه نمو 6% اللي وزعناه على السنه الماضيه اللي هو كان 20 بيسه للسهم. فاحنا ملتزمين بالاكثر بين الاثنين. فبغض النظر عن اداء الشركه المالي بالنسبه حق النمو الى اخره، هذا الالتزام موجود للسنه 23 يوزع ال 24، والسنه القادمه ان شاء الله 24 يوزع في 25 في نشره الاصدار. وبعدها ان شاء الله احنا بندرس، بنحاول احنا يكون في نوع من الديمومه، ولكن هذا راجع لقرارات مجلس الاداره في المستقبل خير لين بعد سنتين. فالالتزام موجود اخوي حسن.
اسمح لي بس اضيف على كلامك على اساس انه يمكن انا اكثر يمكن موسع اوضح الامور بشكل افضل يمكن نوعا ما نكمل بعض كلنا. حتى لو مثل ما ذكرت يعني ما دام انتم اقررتوا 3 سنوات 23%، ترى الارباح حتى لو ما كملتوا الارباح السنه هذه يعني صار عندكم وضع نوعا معين، السنه الجايه ان شاء الله اكيد متوقعين يكون افضل، والسنه هذا ايجابي يعني بشكل عام. ممكن يوزعوا للاخ سيف، ممكن يوزع مرتين بروفيت، يمكن ما شرط انه والله. فهذا المفروض هذا الرد اللي هو كان مسمى يعني. اتمنى لكم التوفيق وانتم الاخوان. السؤال الاخير شوي يمكن بالنسبه للايراد والكوست اوف هو هذا الاساس في الشركات يعني كوست اوف تكاليف تكلفه اللي هو مو نسميها تكلفه المبيعات بشكل عام يعني، هو اللي عمل الخلل نوعا ما يعني. عندكم الايراد نفس الشيء على ما اعتقد في حدود اللي هو نفس السنه الماضيه 69 عفوا 68.2 الى 69.7 هذا الايراد. انا حسيت يعني نزلت في الارباح بسبب التكاليف هذه. نحن دائما نتمنى في شركات المساهمه العامه انه يكون في ضبط للتكاليف. لما دخلت في هذه اللي هي الاشياء اللي هي مال التكاليف، الحقيقه بكل صراحه اقول لك حسين استغربت يعني في تكاليف يعني هي ادت للزياده هذه اللي هي مثلا قطع غيار استهلاكيه وصلت من 8.9 الى 10.8، تخييم مأكولات ارتفعت، ايجار معدات ارتفعت، مع العلم الايرادات وحده يعني. فاعتقد يحتاج انت كرئيس تنفيذي ان شاء الله يكون عندك مسؤول مالي ان شاء الله خلال سنه وسنتين من الشباب العمانيين، وحتى الانترنال اوديت نشوف هذه الامور. اذا شركه مساهمه عامه خصوصا الرواتب الحمد لله يعني في شركات سواء المساهمه العامه وانتم شركه يعني فنيه مو شركه خدمات نعطيهم 2000 و3000 يعني ما عندنا مانع نعطي رواتب عاليه للشباب يأدوا ويكون قيمه مضافه للبلد ويكون امكانيات. فهذا اللي في بالي يعني.
واضح
التوفيق ان شاء الله باذن الله.
بس نقطه اخوي جاسم، هو فعلا ان التكاليف التشغيليه زادت وهي بسبب الصيانه الكبرى. بسبب الصيانه الكبرى وهذا محتاجينه، ولكن ايضا بس اضيف معلومه اخوي جاسم، ايضا الايرادات اثرت، لان بعض هذه الوحدات لما توقف ما يندفع لها الايجار اليومي. فعلى الرغم من ان احنا في اول منتصف لهذا السنه تعدينا ايرادات السنه الماضيه، الايرادات ما زالت متاثره بسبب الصيانه الكبرى، فاحنا عندنا يعني مثل ما تقول مكانين اللي هم ادوا الى انخفاض صافي الربح. ايرادات قلت عما لو كانت هذه الوحدات شغاله طول الوقت ما طلعت للصيانه الكبرى، وايضا التكاليف التشغيليه وهي يعني للصيانه والقطع الغيار فقط، يعني اللي هي اثرت بشكل كبير على الاداء المالي في النصف الاول.
ذلك التوفيق. هي الشفافيه دائما الحمد لله امور طيبه. بس مثل ما قلت لك يعني فيها بعض التفاصيل موجوده، انتم ما مقصرين، ففي بعض التفاصيل لو ترجع لها اكيد بتلاقي فيها يمكن غير منطقيه انا اعتبرها. فاتمنى لك التوفيق انتم الشباب الكفاءات. اقتراح اخير اذا كان ممكن اضيفه معك، وانا عارف الوقت متاخر، اتمنى حتى في المناقشه الجايه ان شاء الله ما تاخذوا وقت كبير عشان تعطوا مجال للشباب يسالوا، لان هذه الديتيلز ما ديتيلز يعني احس انها موجوده وكل واحد يقدر، خصوصا المحللين الهنود ما شاء الله عليهم عارفين كل شيء يعني من ناحيه الموجزه. هي الاساسيات المفروض اللي نفكر فيها نحن كمجتمع وكشباب عندنا ثقافه نوعا ما اقتصاديه، واللي تهمنا ان نخلق وظائف للشباب العمانيين. تعرف الاقتصاد بشكل عام مر بمرحله، والحمد لله نحن في الطريق السليم بعون الله ان شاء الله. انا بس اضيف لك سالفه التدريب، يعني لو انا هذه كل الشركات المساهمه العامه اتمنى يكون لها مجال، يعني مو قصد التوظيف بحاجتكم انتم ادرى به يعني. سالفه الشباب اللي نحن ندربهم على حتى لو كنت اقترحت على عدد من الاخوان قبل يومين، انما ممكن نجيب الشباب في السنوات الاخيره يتدربوا حتى لو ما يعني في القطاع المالي، في القطاع الفني، مو شرط انه يكمل 8 ساعات اذا كان العمل ما موجود، حتى لو ساعتين بس. اهم شيء التدريب يكون تدريب فعلا، يعني حد يتابعه ان هذا الشخص فعلا استفاد من هذا التدريب، حتى لو هي شهر، حتى لو هي شهرين، حتى لو هي 3. يعني هي هذه الاشياء المفروض تكون من الاساسيات الموجوده في شركات المساهمه العامه. والمسؤوليه الاجتماعيه اتمنى بعد تخلوا بالكم عليها ان شاء الله. هذا اللي في بالي، اتمنى لكم التوفيق ان شاء الله. واسمحوا لي على يمكن كلام بعض الاحيان يكون،
لا بالعكس،
الحمد لله عندنا شفافيه.
لا بالعكس، نقاط مهمه بالنسبه لي يعني البرزنتيشن. اخوي جاسم منكم يعني ناخذ الفيدباك ونتعلم. المره القادمه ان شاء الله بنحاول نقلل الوقت ويعطي مجال اكثر للاسئله. بالنسبه للتدريب نشتغل مع الجامعات والكليات، ولكن مثل ما ذكرت دائما في مجال ان نقدر نعمل اكثر باذن الله تعالى، وبنواصل الجهود. وهذه يعني الفيدباك اللي نسمعها منك مهمه حالنا، ان شاء الله بنحاول في المستقبل نكثف الجهود باذن الله تعالى.
لكم التوفيق ان شاء الله. واسمحوا لي
Engineer Saif, one more last question. Your major maintenance is once each 10 years, right?
اعتقد زميلي صلاح شرحها بشكل عام كذا.
صلاح. I would really thank you for your time. Actually, we enjoy your presentation and we trust you, and we want you to continue the achievement in the upcoming Q3 and 4. Thank you so much, Engineer Saif. Thank you so much, Mr. Rajan, and thank you so much, Salah. Wish you all the best. And just one more suggestion for your future Q3 and Q4 financial report. I hope you will have small part to talk about your future business. For example, Q3, Q4, how you will do in for example, in your Q3 report, you mentioned small, for example, how your future offer few business for Q4. That's all. And thank you so much. And sorry for taking long time in the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I still see someone raising their hand, Mr. Sijo, I believe.
Good afternoon. I just have a generic question. You set up a prospective markets about Algeria, Kuwait, and UAE. Just want to understand that, are you guys bidding, preliminary bids are there in these targeted markets? And could you just elaborate on how is the competitive on that? And if can we expect any near term or this year any contract updation that there's a possibility, or is it next year? Could you? I just need a visibility on that front. Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, that Abraj has been heavily participating in bids in countries that we have been pre-qualified, and also we have discussions with the customers in those areas, whether it is Kuwait or Algeria, and even India as well. And that is an ongoing process. And that where we have managed to secure a contract with Kuwait with our customer KGOC. And so that contract, it will materialize in Q1 or starting in Q1 2024. We are also finalizing some of the other pre-qualification with the major client in Kuwait, and we are hoping to participate in the upcoming tenders that we expecting to see in the next couple of quarters. Similarly, we are having discussions and also looking into the major prospects in Algeria, and we're hoping for something to materialize in the future. But there's nothing that we can share with you at the moment.
So is it Algeria even, how is the landscape there? I'm saying, I just want to understand, this is beyond the GCC market. So, so I just want to understand, how is the landscape of, is it the rates, or if you can just elaborate on the OPEX, since you mentioned that Kuwait has a lower OPEX, even though lower rates. So could you just give us a little more elaboration on that front? It would be nice.
In Algeria, as an environment or topography or size and type of operation is very, very similar to Oman in terms of drilling, in terms of kind of formation, depth, and they are very, very similar. It's diverse and very similar to Oman, where Oman today you can see that we have all kind of drilling type from 1,000 horsepower, utilizing rigs that are 1,000 horsepower all the way to 2,000, and in the niche market to 2,500 horsepower as well. And in Algeria, they have similar kind of well drilling. So for us, in terms of operation, we believe that it is not something that is complicated or complex or something that we will struggle to do so. When it comes to OPEX, the beauty of the Algerian market is very mature, similar to Oman in terms of manpower availability. Majority of the Algerian citizens are all equipped to participate in this kind of drilling environment or oil and gas environment. So we don't see kind of struggle or issues in terms of Abraj operating that country. And the OPEX over there slightly lower from what we have seen in terms of the drilling operation. Is much lower than in Oman. And that is, again, dependent on the kind of labor market, which is different from Oman, and also the availability of the rest of the OPEX in terms of spare parts and so on and so forth. So it's slightly lower than Oman, and also we're seeing the day rates are slightly kind of lower, but giving similar and if not higher EBITDA margins and PAT. But of course, having said that, the first entry, if it doesn't come in a sizable manner, you may not be able to see that or realize that high margins, especially in EBITDA or in PAT. So it depends what kind of a contracts we'll be able to secure in the future, and that will dictate the kind of margins that we'll realize.
Oh, perfect. That is well understood, Salah. Thank you. Wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
I believe we answered most of the questions in the chat. Yeah, Rajan?
Yes. We have covered all the questions. So if there are no more questions, then we can have the wrap up of the session. We have already overrun on the time. We thank MSX who are also there, I believe. So we have to respect their timing. If there are no other questions, thank you, Nasser, for your wishes.
Thank you, Sheikh Nasser.
Yeah. So, Saif, you can give a wrap-up comments, and then we will close the session.
No, I think I'll touch base on where you stopped, Rajan. We'd like to thank MSX for their support, for facilitating to have this session. We would like also to thank all the participants for your really valuable questions, feedback, and suggestions that we will take forward. Abraj stays committed to its investors when it comes to its operational excellence and being a market leader, competitive. We stay committed to ESG, we stay committed to HSC, to our clients to ensure that we compete at an international level to deliver high quality service. And also we always strive to look for new opportunities to expand both locally within the current product lines, but also other product lines and regionally and internationally. And so thank you for participating today. And we hope to engage with you very soon, inshallah.
Thank you, Saif, for that comments. And so we will wrap up the session. Thanks once again to all the investors who have participated. Thanks to MSX, as well as thanks for all your patience in seeing our presentations and hearing our response to various questions. Thank you. Thank you so much.